Hey everyone, welcome. We have a special Tuesday edition of our Run Pure Sports college basketball show. We did one yesterday, and we had so much fun. We came back again. I'm here as always with my good friend Gavin. How's it going, Gavin? Big slate tonight.
Yeah, next 2 days, man. We better now's the time to be clicking on all cylinders. So let's get back some of that money that James Akinjo decided to take from us yesterday via Adam Flagler.
Yeah, kind of a dud way to end the slate, even with overtime there with Akinjo. Do want to mention, since this is free, hit the like button and the red subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner, so you can see some more content, college basketball and others on Run Pure Sports. Since we got 12 games, Gavin, we should probably just dive right into it here. First game, SEC battle, Arkansas at Florida. Arkansas 19th at KenPom, Florida 50th at KenPom, Florida coming off the big Auburn win at home. What do you got for this game, bets wise? And why don't you talk about Florida first? Castleton has played well since coming back.
Yeah, 135 and a half total. A little bit slower than you typically see in an Arkansas game. Arkansas open -1.5, swung to pick, now back to Arkansas -1. I know I kind of lean towards the Florida side here. I mentioned before I thought we've seen a little bit of the Arkansas ceiling. I mean, Jalen Williams is playing about as one of the best top five bigs in the country. So I'll let you get to the Florida side because I know you are in terms of Florida. Sorry, you're on the Arkansas side, but at home, a little bit different team. I worry about kind of the second straight get up spot in a row at home. But still think that we haven't quite seen the ceiling of Florida like we have Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm buying Arkansas here. I like them coming down the stretch. They played well in a couple of games in a row with Note not having full minutes, kind of because of fouls. I think Jalen Williams is really interesting here. Like you said, he has been awesome, playing full minutes, 37 plus in three straight, 21% shot rate, 32% rebound rate, 23% assist rate, Gavin. So I think that he's producing like the true studs of the slate, and he's a little bit cheaper than those. And I think that he'll come in low owned here. Um, Florida's a bit weaker inside defensively. You know, they're right around 150th defensively. So the matchup is good. He's going to get a double double if he doesn't foul, with upside for I think 40 plus on the slate. Besides Williams, do you have any interest in Castleton or any of the Florida guards here? Appleby coming off maybe the best game he's played at Florida, right in that 5K range, where just like the Saturday slate, there's a bunch of good plays right in that range today.
Yeah, I typically am not on the Florida guards as much. You know, some of these guard heavy rotations where you got, McKissick, Fleming, even Kawachi Reeves is poking his head up with, Marion Jones there too. So on a big slate, I'm definitely not getting there on a mainline perspective. But yeah, I don't know if Appleby's still battling that quad thing, but we've seen it kind of flare up from time to time. So yeah, I think he's fine. He's a GPP shooter who, if he's hitting, he can definitely break value with multiple 3-pointers plus some assist upside. So yeah, I don't have a big issue with him. I just think that this is kind of a low key tough matchup all around for everyone.
Yeah, Arkansas does play fast, but
Florida
they
58, 61, and 63 possessions last three games with Castleton. The 63 was against Auburn, another fast team. So
yeah. Yeah, I was just going to mention Arkansas does play fast, but they've been the best defensive team in conference so far. I've kind of tripped myself up trying to attack the pace at points this season, without taking enough into account how good they are defensively. I am on Arkansas money line here, like I said earlier. So let's move on here now. Georgia at Texas A&M, kind of a shitter game here. Georgia 206 at KenPom, Texas A&M 80th. Pace up spot here for A&M. Any pieces that interest you here?
in the game or on A&M?
On A&M.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a more nut matchup, for A&M. In terms of, we got a 146 total. It's crazy to see an A&M total in that spot, but Texas A&M kind of sneakily tied for, one of the highest team totals on the slate. And so I think it's a really interesting GPP team to target. And it's not really a team I think you try to pick off one guy. I think you're probably playing 2 to 3 to try and soak up a lot of that. I'm not even going to call it minute usage because Buzz is going to play 12 guys regardless, but at least some of the shot usage and whatnot. But I got a couple shares of Henry Coleman in the big GPP. I think this is a really interesting spot for him. Georgia's like 346th or something and 2-point defense around that area. Texas A&M, 8th best defensive turnover percentage versus a team in Georgia that coughs it up at the 315th worst rate. So yeah, I got some sneaky GPP interest in this A&M team, but it gets pretty hairy kind of once you go outside of Coleman.
Yeah, and in their earlier matchup at Georgia, Coleman just dump trucked them. So he has performed well in this matchup. His risk, as usual, is that he fouls a lot. So I feel a little bit better about that at home. He would definitely be my favorite target from the game. I have a little bit of interest in Boots Radford here, priced right in the same range, just because he does most of his scoring right around the rim too, Gavin. So that kind of aligns with the matchup here. Okendo on Georgia's been chucking lately, 28% shot rate last 3. The peripherals aren't really where I'd like them to be for a guy in the 7K range going on the road in a pace down spot. Any thoughts there before we move on?
No, I think it's really hard to get to the Georgia guys. I'm more of a Braylon Bridges guy myself, but you mentioned Boots Radford getting to the bucket. Texas A&M second in near proximity rate. Georgia 356th in defensive near proximity percentage. So not protecting the rim. Actually protecting the rim worse than all but 2 Division I programs in the country.
That's pathetic. All right, let's move on. Tennessee at Mizzou. Another kind of middling game, in my opinion. Tennessee 12th at KenPom, Mizzou 140th. Mizzou plays a little slower than I think they have in the last couple of years. They're 284th in tempo. Give us the particulars here and anything stand out for you DFS wise.
Yeah, 130 total. So definitely on the lower end. Tennessee been bet up a point now to minus 10.5 at Missouri. Boy, on a 12 gamer, it's going to be really hard, I think, for me to get to any of these Missouri guys. I've been kind of a sneaky Trevon Brazil guy. He's got some kind of wild upside when he was in the 3 and 4Ks. Jonas Adu, for some GPP shots, has played extremely well the last 2 games, and I think might be forcing his way into the rotation a little bit. But look, I don't think there's really any piece in this game that I'm looking probably for a mainline player.
Yeah, same. Chandler's been playing really well of late. I just don't like the game environment.
Yeah, when we have the nut, spend up guard forward that I can remember in a good minute.
Yeah. So like you said, probably won't have anyone on a main team here. We can move on quickly to a good DFS game with 2 teams that run pretty deep rotations. So this is going to be an important one here, Gavin. Michigan State at Iowa. Michigan State 27th at KenPom, Iowa 16th. Pace up spot here for Michigan State, who plays at a decent pace themselves. What do you got here?
154 total, bet up 2 points. Some money's coming in on the over. Iowa now laying 6, down a point. And yeah, boy, this is interesting. Nobody on Michigan State above 7K in this spot is pretty interesting for a team with one of the better team totals on the entire slate. Sparty's kind of been a little bit dead the last 5, lost 4 of those last 5, but they did beat Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. It's not really a spot. I think I lean towards Michigan State. Don't have a super strong take. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good spot for them at least. And we got to pay attention on the DFS side, obviously. This might be the make or break, for some of your lineups here.
Yeah, so I'll just talk about Iowa real quick. I'll take the easy side. Keegan here around 10K at home. Love him in the pace game. Michigan State in conference play, their defense, especially around the rim, has struggled a bit. They're not the best rebounding team either. They're bigs foul a lot, so I think that we could see Keegan with an upside type of game here for 50 plus. I think he averages 45 DK at home, Gavin. Do you like Keegan here? He had for him kind of a down game in the Ohio State game on Saturday. Do you like him here? And then why don't you start off on Michigan State as well?
Yeah, it's hard not to like Keegan in the spot, given their team total and kind of the upside. I mean, 60-point upside with what's to be a pretty good floor that we've come to expect. So, yeah, Keegan definitely mainline worthy. I think with enough value on the slate, he's certainly easier to get than I think on other slates where value's been a little thinner and DraftKings has been kind of sharper on the pricing. But yeah, over to the Michigan State side. So the first thing you got to deal with is the big man merry-go-round, right? Bingham, Hauser, Malik Hall, Gabe Brown, and one and only Julius Marble. Now, can only probably play 2 to 3 of those at a time. And with at least with what Julius Marble has shown us the last couple games, he's kind of the first guy that I'd look to, because with these rotations, I'd rather just try to go as cheap as possible. And if I can rationalize the play, and in this case, we've seen some of the upside. God forbid he gets any more than this minutes because he probably fouls. But at Bingham's price, I think he's probably the same play as Marble for 2.2K extra. So I'm off him. Hauser and Malik Hall, who knows what you get from them. So I tend to look at more of the guards with Christie, Brown, and Hoggard. Where do you prefer, at least in those three guys?
Yeah, so the forwards, I definitely agree with you with Marble. He's not going to start here, but he's seen 20 plus in 3 straight, 27% rebound rates. So you do have that floor. And then if he picks up any blocks or, God forbid, scores, I mean, he threatened a double-double on Saturday, playing well. It's just 6.2 fouls per 40. So that, that's always in his back pocket. If you play him on a main team, just know that he has had games this year and last where he's fouled 3 times in 2 minutes. So, that's always in the back of my head. As far as the guards, we saw in that Illinois game, them really make the run when they played Hogard and Walker together on the floor at the same time, which they hadn't been doing a bunch of. I think projections are a little low on the minutes for both of those guys here. I really like Hogard. He's played well at times this year. It seems like with Izzo going back and forth, taking those guys out after short stretches, tough for them to really get into a zone. Hogard leads the team in usage on the season and is coming off a 33-minute game on Saturday. 48% assist rate last 3, 32% on the season. I mean, what's been holding him back has been the minutes. And I think having another scorer on the court being Tyson Walker with him, I think that'll only help. I think that they take away from Christie's minutes to do this. He just hasn't been good. And yeah, so I like Walker and Hogard. I prefer Hogard. And I'm off Christie here just because I think that is where he pulls the minutes from to get both these guys on the court at the same time. What do you think before we move on?
Yeah, I'd probably go Hogard, Christie, Tyson Walker. I mean, look, we saw how hot Tyson Walker could get. 26 points on 10 to 12 shooting, 24 of those in the second half. He had 18 points in the final 6.5 minutes, dude. Like, just blowtorchy.
He was awesome.
And it's only going to help Hogard, like you said. I don't know if it necessarily comes at the expense of Christie's minutes. Like, he hasn't been, maybe the heavy scorer that they might have hoped coming onto campus, but I don't know if he's been bad. But yeah, that's Christie having most of his minutes at the 2. He is, viable potentially to lose some of them. So I probably would go Hogard over him in a mainline scenario.
Yep, I agree. Let's move on to another interesting game. Nebraska at Northwestern. Nebraska 181 at KenPom. Just an awful year. Rumors of a buyout for Hoiberg. Northwestern 67th at Ken Palm. He's got Northwestern with an 80-point implied team total here. What do you got here? Any interest in anyone on Nebraska first?
Yeah, 148 total. Northwestern laying 11 at home. We saw him kind of beat the brakes off Nebraska last time. If I'm going to go Nebraska, oh man, it doesn't make me feel great, but I think Bryce McGowan's is at least relatively interesting in GPPs. If he gets hot against a pretty soft perimeter D, I don't think he gets the Audige pull. Probably gets Boo Buie. He certainly got some upside scoring wise with a little bit of peripherals. Other than that, I don't know, man. It's hard to get a sense where this team's at. They finally priced up Trey McGowan's.
Yeah.
Derek Walker hasn't been getting the 30 plus minutes like he was earlier. Maybe a mix in Lat Mayan, but there's, I think, way better options at the 4K and under. So I don't know if I'm getting really to any of these guys.
Yeah, I probably won't get to Nebraska. I used Walker in that Maryland game, and he struggled with fouls. On the Northwestern side, it's interesting. An 80 team total and no one priced above 7K. We've got Pete Nance, who was really good to start the year in the beginning of conference play, had that injury and hasn't really been the same since. He's still got an 18% shot rate last three, but the peripherals have just evaporated, man. I think he's going to be very popular on this slate. He projects well using, I assume mostly full season rates, because those are still good. But it's not only the rates that have fluctuated, it's the minutes too. He's played 22 and 27 in two of the last three games. What do you think about Nance here? It's clearly a great matchup. Nebraska awful defensively and a huge pace up. He didn't have a great game against them when they played last time. He's going to be popular. What are you doing with Nance here? And then is there anyone else on Northwestern that interests you?
Yeah, there's a little bit of blowout potential here. Last game, nobody on Northwestern played more than 26 minutes. Bowie 26, Audige and Roper 25, Nance 20 minutes. So can he still get there at 6-7, even with 20-25 minutes? Yeah, he might be able to with this pace. It's the chalk play that I'm wrestling with the most, I think, kind of heading up towards lock. I'm still a little bit on the fence because I think he's, like you said, nuclearly bad in the rebounding department for Pete Nance. I can't imagine he's getting 2 and 3 more rebounds, much more frequently. So it's kind of a scary fade, but there is blowout potential. So yeah, I'm a little bit on the fence. I wish I had kind of a more concrete take. He's a great play at the price, but for kind of how I play is a little more higher risk. I don't know. I kind of see the routes to failure for him.
Yeah, I think I would be a lot more interested in him here if he wasn't projecting so well. And, I expect him to be 30+% owned. He has not had a good game in a month. The minutes fluctuating kind of scare me. They're playing more guys now. I mean, they played how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 guys last game, Gavin. So the rotation is, getting deeper. The season hasn't gone the way they wanted. I just think that there's probably more risk to him than people might be thinking. I mean, that being said, it's an easy matchup, and I can see him doing well here. Do you have any interest in Bowie before we move on? He's been their most consistent minutes guy, 30 plus in 3 straight with a 20% shot rate.
Yeah, he's got good usage for the minutes. He doesn't have the rates typically as consistently as I would like, but I mean, he just nuked Nebraska last time on the road. So I certainly get it. If you want him as a potential Nance pivot, thinking that Nance has foul trouble, whatever the case may be, they run a deeper forward rotation with Elijah Williams, with Ryan Young, with Robbie Barron. I'm all right with Bowie, but I think it's still relatively mild interest because it's hard to see him have the type of ceiling that he's going to need to bust open an entire slate. He's probably going to need 35 plus at his price, 32 to 35, and 20 plus of that has to come from scoring. in a game that could get blown out. So mild interest.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on to what I think is an interesting game. Oklahoma at Texas Tech. Oklahoma 41st at Ken Palm. Texas Tech 10th at Ken Palm. We've seen Oklahoma, the bottom started to fall out here. We talked about it on the Friday show. I think we talked about it last weekend. And now without Harkless, we saw them just get decimated against Iowa State. We gave away Iowa State -2 on the Friday night show. They won by 20. That was nice. So I have serious concerns with using anyone on Oklahoma, especially at Texas Tech. What do you think overall about the game and just Oklahoma's current situation? We've seen their defense just completely erode in conference play, which we talked about on Friday night.
Yeah, 130 total, so definitely towards the lower end. Texas Tech down to 9.5-point favorites. First, kind of with the first game. Look, OU beat them. They caught Tech in the absolute nut spot on their schedule. It was after the Texas Mortal Kombat game, and then they had to travel to Morgantown and then back. So that being said, with the Oklahoma team, not having Elijah Harkless is huge. That's one less pretty lethal 3-point shooter that you're going to need against a no middle defense, who's also a very formidable defender and is pretty switchable, kind of 1 through 4, given his size and foot speed. So it's a pretty tough play. The Tanner Groves price and looks pretty interesting, but I don't know if there's Texas Tech stretch bigs versus Texas Tech, or perimeter based bigs versus Tech are just not good matchup wise, given their forward switchability with Williams and O'Banner and kind of how they pack line and push everything away from the basket, which usually forces guys into tough mid ranges. So I'm definitely off both those guys. This Oklahoma team, it's just tough, I think, to implement a Porter Moser, very heavy execution, timing based system in 1 year, coming from the Lon Kruger era. So, it's still a work in progress. I don't think it's, fire Porter Moser or anything like that, but, he's certainly behind the 8 ball, at least in the early going.
Yeah, we saw we had a lengthy discussion on Friday night about who would kind of step in for Harkless. We saw Jacob Groves start and play 33 minutes. His rates are low, but he's free. I could see using him if you're building a ton of lineups, not a main lineup type of guy for me at Texas Tech when, Oklahoma could score like 52 points here or something. What do you think on the Texas Tech side? We've seen McCullough miss the last 2 games. He didn't even warm up or dress on Saturday. Do you have any lean on his status and kind of talk about what he affects with the other guards / wings on Texas Tech here?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything new and definitive enough to the point where I can say, I have a good feeling one way or the other. It certainly doesn't sense well that you're not even dressed, and I think he was in a walking boot as well. But if he's out, we saw kind of Adonis Arms take a pretty good jump in terms of not only just kind of shot volume and usage, but just his role and involvement, and in terms of being another kind of offensive weapon. Terry Shannon just had a miserable go of it, and still kind of nastily barely grinded his way to some value, and didn't really bury you. But if McCullough is out, I'm completely fine going back to Terry Shannon and Adonis Arms. We even saw Clarence Nadolny get some minutes. He's pretty free. And if we think that Texas Tech could blow out OU, like I think is certainly viable in the spot, then maybe Nadolny and Wilson can get some added run in a GPP format.
Yeah, I don't mind those, if you're running a bunch of teams in the 18. I think Shannon is probably still fine if McCullough plays. Do you agree there? I mean, he's played 30 plus with McCullough in there. I just think that
didn't he take 14 shots with McCullough in against, I think McCullough played against Baylor, right?
Yeah. So
got banged up.
Yeah. I just think if McCullough's out, I like Shannon even more, but I think he's still fine if McCullough's in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it might lack a little ceiling with McCullough in, but I still think he's fine. Provides a good enough floor given his role in the offense.
Yeah, and I mean that's the decision that a lot of people are going to have to make today. In that 5K range, are you playing like an Appleby? Are you playing a Shannon? There's some guys later that, we're going to talk about. So I think the good part about this slate is that the popular slash chalk pieces, there are really good plays around them. We talked about Pete Nance being chalk. You can go to Boo Booey. There are some guys in the Bama game that are priced around there. So we can talk about that when we get there, though. Let's go to Miami at Pitt. Miami 66 at Ken Palm, Pitt 168 at Ken Palm. Miami's -4 here. I was kind of hoping to get a larger number on Pitt, Gavin. I kind of want to buy on Pitt late in the year here. I like some of the pieces that they have, and they've been playing better of late. They dropped that Georgia Tech game on Saturday, but before that, they had won 3 straight. We kind of like a few of their pieces in Burton and Mogi, and they got your guy if Horton back. What do you think overall about the game, and any plays for you here on either side?
Yeah, obvious pace down for Miami, and Pittsburgh going to try to grind you out from inside out. 136 total. Miami laying 4. Looks like it might head to 4.5. I was kind of the mindset, of you in terms of wanting to buy on this Pitt team. They were scrappy early in the part of conference play when they were super shorthanded. I think people just thought that they were coming off that non-con where they were just dismal. Then they kind of hit the skids a little bit, but they beat North Carolina on the highway, and I think it built up 3 straight wins before losing at home to Georgia Tech. So the whole thing about Audis and Xavier Johnson leaving last year with Jeff Capel, I didn't think that this would be a team that I'd be buying on late in the year, but I think this is a pretty good spot. We just saw the Miami team who they're going to struggle with the Virginia scheme, the mover blocker scheme, where the guard heavy Hurricanes are going to have to run through multiple screens from, Gardner, Cafaro, and Shedrick every play. But I think this is still a little bit better matchup for them. That being said, I think it's the Pitt side is the first place you got to look, because I think you got a core play potentially in Ithiel Horton, given shot volume, roll, minute floor, and God forbid he gets a couple, rebounds and assists. He's definitely going to pay off that tag. And then I have some serious interest as well in old John Hughley. Big John is, when he doesn't foul, man, he's good, and he is going to. This is kind of a binary game. Either Hughley is going to have his way down low, and Pitt is probably going to be in front of Miami most of the game, or Miami's going to be knocking down, perimeter and mid-range shots. So I definitely like Hughley. If you can't afford like a Keegan in a GPP scenario and you feel he might be owned, packaging like a Hughley and Henry Coleman over the Keegan and some other punt play like a Marble or something like that, I think is an interesting way to look, because both those guys have kind of 50-point upside, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Hughley go for 50 multiple times this year. We saw Mogi go for 50 last game against Georgia Tech. This Pitt team plays slow, but they do have guys with good upside. And like you said, Miami awful, especially inside defensively. 313th in defensive 2-point percentage, Gavin. 15th out of 15 in ACC play.
Yeah, and it hadn't gotten better with Sam Wardenberg, playing full-time center now.
Yep. So I really like Hughley and Mogi for tournaments, especially. Horton, I think, is probably the easiest play on the slate. He's 1,000 too cheap. Should be super high owned here. 22% shot rate last 3. Anyone on the Miami side before we move on? Wong is still priced around 7K. He's got 4 straight games with 7 or more rebounds. Do you think that continues? He hasn't really had like a ceiling scoring game in a while. And if he puts those two together, we've seen him go for 40 plus in the past. It's just not the best game environment for it.
Yeah, he can score 20 plus real points. Is this the game that he does it? I tend not to think so. And Jordan Miller coming back the last couple games, dude's been, super serviceable himself. I think he kind of provides even potentially a little bit better floor than Wong, but definitely doesn't have the ceiling or upside. I think Wong's still interesting in this spot, 7-1K. I just didn't find myself a ton there for the guards on this slate. And yeah, it's like, you're still paying kind of the same prices for all these Miami guys going on the road and a massive pace down. It's just tough to play them on a 12 gamer in a main line.
Yeah, you're not getting a price break, and I think that just in the same game, I would rather play Hewley or Gee over Wong or
Yeah, I agree.
McGusty. So three, I think, really strong plays for Pitt. One more of like a core play, and then two, I think, under-owned tournament looks here in Gee and Hewley. All right, let's move on to probably the best game of the night as far as real life games. Nova going on the road to UConn. Nova 11th at Ken Palm. UConn 18th at Ken Palm. What do you got for the particulars here, Gavin? This will be a slower tempo game, even though, well, I'm sure you'll bring up the first meeting.
I'll let you do those honors, but I'll give you the particulars in terms of 137 total for this game. That's pretty high, but UConn minus 2.5 at home in this spot. Taking some money already. If it gets to that +3, I'm going to be pretty interested in Villanova. Yeah, you want to talk about that first game since you're the one with the actual bet on it?
So these teams played back on the 5th. 85-74 Nova at home, under 70 possessions. That game, I think, was lined at 127-ish. So it flew way over. UConn shot 56%. Nova shot 61%, and they combined to go 35 of 38 from the free throw line. This one opened 138. I took the under this morning. I think it's come down a bit since then. So yeah, this was my other bet of today was Nova UConn under 138. As far as DFS, it's going to be tough for me to get to anyone in this game. Nova, we've seen Moore and Gillespie play through these injuries. They've said that they're, playing at about 80%. UConn really tough to score on, especially inside. And then you get Sonogo on UConn coming off just the absolute burner first half on Saturday, put up like 28 or so DK in the first half. And then the second half was getting doubled every possession and just kind of went backwards. He struggled in the first matchup. I think he had 2 rebounds in 27 minutes. Nova does a really good job trying to take away your primary scorer or your primary usage guy. So, while I think the price and the projection on Sonogo are good, I do worry that Nova is just so good at just routinely putting floor games on the opposing star of the other team. What do you think here?
Yep. They'll double them very frequently. And we've seen Sonogo not be very astute at handling double teams. He's unbelievable when he gets a one-on-one matchup, within 8 feet of the cup. But yeah, 2 boards out last time in foul trouble riddled 27 minutes. That's the only time in 2022 he's had below 6 rebounds. And I don't think that's kind of by accident or just, small sample size or one game scenario. I think it legitimately is a tough matchup for him, especially to kind of get some rhythm and get going. So yeah, like Sonogo versus like Hughley. I think I like Hughley in that spot.
Yeah, it's just a much better matchup. And I think, like I said, this game goes under the total. So let's move on. We have a Mountain West game here. San Diego State at Boise State. Both teams in the top 26 at Ken Palm. That conference is playing some good basketball. Both teams right around 300th in tempo. Boise State, Ken Palm's got 11th in adjusted defensive efficiency. And I believe San Diego State, he's got first in the country, best defensive team in the country. What are the particulars on this game, Gavin? And I believe they played earlier in the year. You can bring that game up as well.
Oh God. I didn't even really make note of it just because I didn't want to have to look back at it, but I know it was well under 100 points. I think
42,
Coop had like
42-37.
Yeah, Coop had like under 90 something and was never threatened at all. It was an unbelievable game in terms of eye cancer inducing unbelievable. This game 120.5, which frankly I still think is a little bit high. Boise State -2 in this spot. Boise's pretty highly dependent on creating shots from a lot of dribble drive with their kind of combo wings and Acott and Kegab, but they're pretty limited 3-point shooting wise, other than Shaver. And San Diego State's going to come in here firing on all cylinders on the defensive end. Like last game was a weird scheduling spot. San Diego State was off COVID and Boise State was at the tail end of a condensed COVID schedule. So yeah, we'll probably see a little bit more points, but I love both these teams with all my heart, but don't you dare play someone from this game other than potentially Tyson Degenhart.
Yeah, so let's talk about him because we've had a couple plays in that 5K range. He's playing good minutes and his role is good. Priced a bit too low. He's definitely my favorite target in this game, probably my only target. But do you think he has ceiling to beat, let's say like a Terry Shannon, or if McCullers out, an Adonis Arms, or an AJ Hogard, or a Tyson Walker? Where does he fall kind of in that group of guys for you? Because I think a lot of people are going to have that same decision to make.
Yeah, he put up 20 fantasy points against San Diego State in that grease fire, and he only played 29 minutes. I think he definitely does have ceiling, and I've started to warm on him a little bit throughout the day as I've thought about how much San Diego State is reliant on. They'll bring help defense really quickly in this game, especially without the threat of multiple Boise State shooters. And if Degenhart is the one, not only with 3-point upside, but potentially being the off-ball guy that receives some of the easy looks underneath, I think he's definitely got some ceiling here. And look at his log; he's been as consistent as hell. So it's interesting. It's really interesting. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but yeah, he's a great play in the spot.
Yeah, we have some questions in the chat. I just saw, the same thing. Degenhart or Terrence Shannon, Shannon and Jalen Williams or Appleby Castleton. That one, I think I can definitively say that I would go TJ Shannon and Jalen Williams over Appleby Castleton. Probably don't want two pieces against Arkansas. But yeah, I mean, it's a big decision. I think I prefer Shannon just because of the game environment. And, but I think so that game locks second. So you won't have to know in the next half hour. You will know if McCullough is playing before you have to make that decision. So I do like that part of it. Anything else here before we move on to the Bama game?
Not a ton. I was kind of on the Jalen Williams side as well. 0 games in 2022, under 8 rebounds and double-digit rebounds in 9 of the 13. So I think he's a little bit safer than CC, especially with Mike White as an auto bencher. But yeah, not a whole lot else that we need to discuss in this grease fire San Diego State game.
Yeah, so let's go to a really good DFS game. Bama at Vandy. Bama 20th at KenPom. Vandy 78. Bama 17th in tempo, so a pace-up spot here after just the complete meltdown on Saturday that we saw, Gavin, from Bama in that Kentucky game. They got out to the huge lead early, stopped making threes, and gave up just a ton of points. I think they gave up 90. Oates has come out and said that he's going to play his 5 best defenders in this game. Let's talk about that first before the DFS part of it. What do you think about the comments and about the game in general?
Yeah, he wants to only play the 5 guys who will play defense. Who are those guys? I have no fucking idea. I don't know if Nate Oates knows. Like, I was looking at the on-off. I love my on-off tool on Hoop Explorer. But if I asked you of the 4 guards, who has the greatest drop-off in defensive on-off splits, which one of the 4 guys would you say?
Probably Quinn, because his effort isn't always there.
I would have said the same thing. It's actually Keon Ellis, dude.
Is it really?
Now that doesn't mean that Keon is going to come off the floor. I wanted to peek and look at that to see. It was kind of weird. Not really a drop off with Shackelford. Not really a big drop off with Quinterly. not really with JD as well. But Keon does have 6 points per 100 possession drop off. That being said, I think you still got to play Keon regardless, especially because Vandy's going to be very, Scottie Pippen centric, and he is a phenomenal matchup for Scottie in the spot.
Yeah, so let's go to the DFS side. Bama, Keon coming off the monster game on Saturday. I think he was like 7 of 9 from 3, something like that. Price hasn't moved. This is another one of those good pivots to the Pete Nance chalk. I think Keon is going to be low owned here. And we've seen him throughout the season. He's more of like a streaky guy, right? Like he'll have a couple games where he can't hit a shot, and then, but if he sees him go down early, those are the games where he can really blow up. Bama's got a near 80 team total here. I think Quinn is safer than him for 400 more for sure, just because of the peripheral upside that Quinn has with the 35% assist rate. What do you think about those two real quick? And then do you have any favorite in the Bama forward merry-go-round? We've seen Miles play 20 plus minutes in 3 straight. He's under 4K here. I put in the playbook, he might be better as like a late slate play, just because there are less values to choose from. What do you think overall with those guys on Bama?
Yeah, it's just going to be scary, regardless if it's Keon or Quinterly. What if Quinn and or Keon only play 20 to 25 minutes? It's really hard to get a handle for what Nate Oates is going to do after it seems like he kind of had the blow up last game, the fed up, with their defense type outburst. So I guess I'll go. I'd probably take Keon over Quinterly in this spot, because I think with Keon sticking on ball of Scottie Pippen, I think he's going to have some upside for some blocks and some steals as well, just with how much Scottie's going to have it in his hands.
Yeah.
And then you go to the big man rotation. Yeah, I'd love me some Darius Miles and Noah Gurley, but I worry that Noah Gurley definitely could be on this chopping block of a lack of defense. So I don't just understand that the floor of all these forwards is even lower than it already was beforehand, because we don't know who's going to really take these minutes here.
Right.
I tend to believe Nate Oates when he says something like that.
Yeah, and I think all 4 of them have, or all 5 of them have foul rates over 5 per 40. So there is that risk as well. I will say whichever one he starts, I think is, the ones that he's saying to us, all right, these are the guys who I trust first. They could come out and foul immediately, but at least you have that going for you. What about the Vandy side here? What do you think about Pippen at 8.8? He is on just a mega heater right now. And then I think Liam Robbins is an awesome play here. We had him as a core play on the Saturday. I think it was afternoon slate. He was low owned there. I think he comes in with big ownership here because people have now seen the box scores. 24 and 26 minutes last 2. This was a 7K guy last year at Minnesota. Is just he missed the first three months of the year and is just kind of getting back into game shape here. And we've seen big men just absolutely just destroy Bama all conference season. What do you think about those two guys?
Yeah, Pippen's a phenomenal play. Jordan Majeski talks about a lot how Vandy uses some pretty creative setups in terms of how they get Scottie Pippen the ball and where. No surprise, Jerry Stackhouse, a former kind of swingman, shooting guard, small forward, ball handler type himself, is able to kind of draw that up. And I think they're going to kind of, work a similar game plan here in terms of trying to get him a high volume, especially without Rodney Chapman. I think that still kind of hurts, Vanderbilt a little bit more, but helps kind of Scottie's usage as a whole. And then I think Liam Robbins is, one of the best plays on the slate, as scary as that is to say. Couple reasons is, we had the cardio worry when he first came back, right? People were saying that he played all year. He literally couldn't play. He couldn't run up and down the court more than a couple times. It looks like he's kind of over that hurdle now with 20 plus minutes. Like if he plays well early and he doesn't foul and Vanderbilt is keeping the game close. I mean, we just saw Walker Kessler when he played Bama, I think, have the 11 blocks, right? I think that was the Bama game.
Yeah.
Liam Robbins, for his money, is not that far from Walker Kessler in terms of a shot blocker in the paint. I think a little bit better foot speed than Walker. I don't think he's as tall as him, but Like, it goes to show you that he has, legitimate block upside here with the way that we know Bama will challenge at the rim. So I
Yeah,
love Liam Robbins.
last two seasons, Gavin. In 2020, he was sixth in the country in block rate. Last year at Minnesota, he was 15th.
There you go. I actually said something right on the show for once. That's a nice change.
There you go. So yeah, Pippen. You said that you loved him here. Where does he rank for you? Let's compare him to like Castleton and Williams, the guys that we've already talked about, and then we'll talk about the UNLV Nevada guys next.
I'm probably Pippen over Williams over Castleton is where I'm at. It's hard not to think that, Pippen with the pace up with the offense versus defense matchup here with Bama, man, he should get a lot of shots here, and God forbid he stays involved at more than just a scoring level and puts up some peripherals. CC and Jalen Williams just going at each other. I'm going to be Jalen Williams over CC in that, but I think I still like Pippen over the other two. But I think the real discussion comes down to, what do you do with the other spend up guards?
Yep. All right, we got 2 games and about 10 minutes left. So, wow, we're not falling behind. This is for the people who don't usually watch. For 12 games, we usually take about an hour and a half.
And I'll rattle off shot quality stats till the cows come home and bore you to death.
Yep. Let's move on to what I think is a game that I'm struggling to find any DFS plays in. Kansas State at Kansas, K-State 55th at KenPom, Kansas 5th at KenPom. What are the particulars here, Gavin, for this in-state rivalry game?
Yeah, 141 total. Kansas laying 12 at the Fog here. Kind of I did make a note, at least from the first game, when I was looking at shot quality, my beloved website. K-State ran a pick and roll ball screen on 40% of their offensive plays last game against Kansas. That is just a mind-boggling high number, and partly because Nigel Pack and Marquise Noel, that's like the only way that they're really creating offense at this point. Bill Self is a pretty good tinker with on-ball screens. I think he makes the adjustment in this game. When you get to the DFS side, yeah, it's like the KU guys. How are you going to play Bronner Agbaji in the spot when you got Pippen, when you got Sherfield, when you got Hamilton in the spot? It's just hard for me to get to the KU guys. I think this game is a little bit more grinder than people believe. Pending David McCormick going off. As long as he doesn't go for 20 and 20, I think this game's scoring gets relatively held in check.
Yeah, I think that you can fade this game and feel pretty good, right? It's just like Brown and Agbaji are priced as if Jalen Wilson's role hasn't changed, and it just has. Like he's taking up enough usage that those guys don't have, the elite usage of a guy who's 9K. I mean, we're playing Pippen because he's got a 30% shot rate and a 50% assist rate playing 38 minutes a game. That's just not what these guys have anymore, like they did when Wilson was for whatever reason in Self's doghouse. So yeah, let's skip this game. I will say K-State kept it pretty close last time. I think I was on them in that other matchup, but I like playing guys like Noel at home. So let's move on to the last game of the slate, which I think is a really good one for DFS. Kind of out more towards your way. I know that you watch this conference more than I do. We got UNLV at Nevada, UNLV 82nd at KenPom, Nevada 120th at KenPom. What do you got here for us?
Yeah, 144 total right here. Nevada has swung from an opener of a 1-point dog to now a 3-point favorite. I think injury news wise, we got the word that Warren Washington is nearing a return, so it doesn't sound like he's back. So I think, with the pace up for that UNLV is going to get, with the speed that Nevada likes to play through, and kind of the pretty condensed rotation, I think this is definitely one of the best games to play mainline or GPP wise. UNLV a little bit more of a jump shot reliant team. Obviously when Bryce Hamilton is going, I mean he's as much of a blowtorch as anybody in the country. And the Nevada side is kind of funneled through those 2 point guards. it just looks funny to me that Sherfield is lower priced than Cambridge. I know that I think it's Desmond Cambridge, right? And Devin's his brother, but Desmond kind of took the reins of the alpha role when Sherfield was out, and his prices kind of hung there. But we also, I think, have two really interesting DFS options as well on kind of the budget side of things with Nuga and Trey Coleman as well.
Yeah, the thing with Sherfield's interesting. Read an article today. It was a foot for Sherfield, and when he came back, he was he was still shooting a lot, but not like he was before. More deferring to Cambridge. The deal with Cambridge has always been he's been like a shot / scoring reliant guard, but the peripherals have come up lately. I prefer Sherfield here. I think he's going to play the whole game, and I just trust him more long term. I think he's going to lead the team in shots. 40% assist rate kind of gives him more paths to like a 40+ point game here for Sherfield. I think it'll be low owned. Great pivot if you go down early. Like if you play Keegan and he fouls or something, and you're holding some other chalkier pieces late, I think you can go to Sherfield and feel good about it. Washington seems like when he does come back, they're going to take it real slow. I mean, he's missed 8 games now. That's let Trey Coleman play a lot, 30+ in 3 straight. The rates are low. He's just in that mix of him, Julian Roper, like those kind of punts. I think I'd prefer him more as like an MME mix than a main team guy, just because I do like Nuga a little bit more on the other side here. His rates are better. He's the one getting the pace up, and then, like you said, Bryce Hamilton's going to play the entire game for UNLV. 37% shot rate last 3.
Nutty.
In max minutes, 26% usage on the season. The peripherals are awesome. Love Hamilton here. I hope that he comes a little under-owned here. This game locks, I think, an hour or 2 after the last other game bedtime on the slate. Not mine.
Yeah, an hour after your bedtime, this game locks.
Yeah, Gajeski's bedtime, maybe. So, yeah, I think Hamilton is live for 50 here, especially if UNLV on the road gets drawn into more of the tempo that Nevada wants to play at. What do you think there? And then what do you think about guys like McCabe or Baker and or Blackshear? I think that there's just a ton of pieces in this game. I think for tournaments, you can full stack it up, and I think it'll be lower owned just because people know these teams less.
Yeah, the Nevada team isn't the most stout defensive unit that we've ever seen. And if this is a case where, like, if Sherfield and Bryce Hamilton are just going to go, shot for shot, and God forbid they're both hitting shots, this game could blow over that total. We've seen Nevada playing some pretty high scoring games in the 170s, 180s. When you start getting into the other budget guys, yeah, I think I at least want 2 pieces from this game in my in my main lineup, and I think a lot of people are probably going to edge towards like a Hamilton Nuga, where if you need kind of a leverage swap, like going down to a Sherfield and Coleman or something like that, or a Cambridge and Coleman, I think is the way to go, because only having one, unless you're starting with Bryce Hamilton, you don't really have kind of anywhere to go but down. So I think I kind of want 2 pieces from this game. It's such a good game. There's plenty of people in play with relatively condensed rotations. So I definitely like this spot here.
Yeah. All right. That wraps up the games. Let me check the chat real quick. 6,200 utility best play. I don't want to do questions like that.
I hated that I came to that price point, and I started removing other people because I just did not like the range.
Yeah, like from the range from basically like TJ Shannon to like the Keon Nance is pretty rough. So I would try to find the money to play Nance, Keon, the guys there. Gajeski's asking about Jordan McCabe. We just talked about him. Murray and
Jordan
Tyson
McCabe.
Walker.
If Jordan McCabe's hitting threes, he's going to return value.
Yep. Here's a 2v2 for you. Murray and Tyson Walker or Big Dave and Akendo. I'm on the first side of that.
Holy
for sure.
moly. I hope this is a GPP 2v2.
Yeah. And then Barrick is asking Boo Booey or Keon here.
Probably Keon, because there's, I think, less blowout potential, especially if we think that he's potentially the one that gets more of the run, being the defensive guy, more peripheral upside. Northwestern could easily just blow the brakes off Nebraska. I think I go Keon in that spot.
Yeah, same. All right, we have a couple minutes left. Let's talk about. We usually wrap up with our favorite guy above 8K. Let's do 7K. Above 7K and then below 5K. I'll let you go first since I went first yesterday.
And took the freebie and left me holding the bag with James Akinjo, you mutt.
Yes, I did.
So look, I think the best play above 8K is Scottie Pippen. My favorite play above 8K is Grant Sherfield.
Yeah,
that makes sense?
Yeah, and you just talked about why.
Yeah.
My favorite play is going to be Bryce Hamilton here. I like the pace up, sneaky high total. I think he comes in lower owned than he should. Like you said, Nevada's a weak defensive team. I mean, you don't get the chance to play a guy with a 40% shot rate very often. I think he's an awesome spend. And I think with the way the slate kind of sets up, I think that you can play multiple of these studs and feel pretty comfortable about it.
I don't think we've seen a shot rate like his probably since like Marcus Howard.
Yeah.
Nutty.
Yeah. All right. Who's your favorite, like, let's say 5K-ish or less, because that range is, let's not do the value guys. Let's do your favorite play in that right around 5K range, because I think that'll help people more.
Right around the 5K range.
We just got some lineups.
Go ahead. You go first.
Well, no, I was going to say, while you're thinking, I'll go through lineups real quick. No surprises for Georgia. Wade Taylor starting for A&M. No surprises for Arkansas. No surprises for Florida. Hogard starting for Michigan State with Christie. So Walker's going to be off the bench like we talked about. And no surprises for Iowa. Tennessee, same lineup. Mizzou, same lineup. All right. So no surprises in the first four, except Wade Taylor for A&M. I'm not sure if he usually starts. Let me check that real quick. But his rates are good. This is only his second start of the season, so he's at least interesting with him kind of popping into the starting lineup there in a good game environment. We didn't talk about him much. He's 4,500. I would be more interested if he was a little bit cheaper. But yeah, my favorite play in that range is Hogard at 4.9. Good to see he's starting. I believe Izzo when he talks about stuff like this, and I think that he probably knows that the key to this team, kind of hitting their ceiling, is playing those two guys more. And we've already seen it for a game, so there's some speculation in it, but we've already seen it once. It's not completely out of thin air. What do you think?
I think that I cannot believe I'm literally about to say Tyson Dagenhart.
Oh, in the 117 total game.
I didn't really listen to anything that you just said because I was just talking to myself. I'm like, are you literally about to suggest a play in a game that might be under 100 total? And I'm like, oh my God, he's still a good fucking play.
Yeah. Well, real quick, why is he a good play before we sign off?
He's going to get a minute for. San Diego State's going to push him away from the basket, and he should have a little bit of height advantage on kind of the San Diego State swingman, especially when Menta isn't out there, probably dealing with more down low underneath matchups. And look, minutes, shots, he's probably going to get plenty of rebounds in a game. There's clanks. He's got some peripheral upside for if Matty Bradley, is chucking or throwing the ball away. So even in a game total like this, yeah, it's disgusting. I think he's a very safe play though in this spot.
Yep. All right. That'll do it for us. Make sure to hit the like button on the way out and subscribe to the channel. We're doing a couple of the niche sports here during the NBA break, but I think NBA is back Thursday or Friday. So hit the subscribe button. and check out, we have free videos every day here on the Run Pure Sports channel. I'm not sure if we'll be back tomorrow. Keep your eyes on the Run Pure Sports Twitter. I'm sure we'll tweet it out if we decide to do a show tomorrow. But that'll do it for us. We'll see you in the Discord if you're a member, going through any last minute questions. Simon, get us out of here.